Hello, I'm Hannah Wallace and welcome to Finextra's Financial Cloud Summit. Kindly joining me now after her session is Monica Sasso from Red Hat. Monica, lovely to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Hi Hannah, the last time we were chatting I think was at Cybos in Amsterdam, so nice to be back home in London.
It was indeed, yes, and some really big topics we want to discuss today, operational resilience. But first, on the floor we're hearing a lot about different areas of cloud, so I think it might be worth starting off with some definitions.
Yep.
Tell us a bit more about hybrid, multi and public cloud. How do they differ from one another? Let's start there.
Certainly, and thanks for asking that, because it's I guess one of my bugbears is people use the word cloud and they don't really know what they mean when they say it. So you've got lots of different flavors of the cloud. Essentially you've got the public cloud, which is where you're using an outsourced provider. I think all of us know the big names out there. You're using their compute space in their building. You outsource everything below the container layer. Mm-hmm. So everything below that is invisible to you. You don't know what server your software is running on or any of that kind of stuff. Then you have your private cloud. See, even I'm getting confused. Your private cloud, which is in your own data center. You as a firm or a company create your own cloud environment and you manage and run your own compute environment. Then you have multi-cloud, where you use many different types of clouds, whether that be public cloud or private cloud, and they're not necessarily connected. So you might run your email service in one cloud, you might run your CRM system, your customer relationship management software in another one, your ServiceNow system in a third cloud, and. That would be your multi-cloud. Hybrid cloud is when you can connect your public cloud environments to your private cloud environments, and you can move data or applications between the two of them. So you really kind of get the best of all of the worlds.
Sure, and you put it a really good way there, flavors of cloud. So how do you decide which flavor to go for?
It's never straightforward, right? I think the answer is what your strategy is, what your needs are, what problems you're trying to solve. It's very easy to get sort of religious about these things, rather than stop and go, actually, this is my as-is state today, this is where we want to get to tomorrow as a corporation, as a firm, here's our strategy, and here's how technology can help us get to that end state, if you will. It's never an end state, it's always a journey, but how can they help us get to the next phase of our journey? And that's kind of where we work a lot with customers, is trying to figure out how they use all the tools that are around them. I think the other thing that I've kind of left out on purpose was the innovation piece, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of the public cloud has awesome tools out there that can really help firms innovate, whether that be AI tools or different kinds of services, that are only available in the public cloud, to use some of the newest cutting edge technology.
Sure, so shouldn't we just move everything to the public cloud? Is that the idea?
Well, nothing is ever that absolute, is it? Right? There's lots of risks involved with moving everything lock, stock, and barrel to the public cloud. A lot of the incumbent banks, for example, or even startups, they've been operating for 10 plus years. The incumbent banks 40 years with a technology estate that's very complex. And you and I as consumers, we don't tolerate any downtime. If you go to use your banking app to pay, or you go to tap your phone somewhere to pay, and it doesn't respond immediately, you get cross. I get cross. We can't afford any outages. Sure. So everything has to be done in a considered, planned out manner. And then again, if you put all of your eggs in one basket, what happens if the basket breaks?
Sure.
So that's why having a mix of public cloud and private cloud and essentially hybrid cloud really, as a firm, you reduce your risk to make sure that you can provide the services to you and I as consumers.
Yeah, that's right. So taking a step back, and you touched on this already around the challenges, but what are the main challenges you're seeing in the space, especially around resilience and regulation?
I mean, the first one, and we've heard about this in the media in the UK and probably around the world the last few months, is a skills gap. Almost the technology has moved on faster than we, as workers, can manage it to the ability that to our best ability, and to actually capitalize on the actual technology. Regulation is a huge piece of it. If everybody were to put all of their mobile banking apps, all of the major banks in the UK, for example, were to all put their mobile banking apps in the same public cloud provider, there's a concentration risk for the bank. Mm-hmm. Not the bank, the Bank of England. Yeah. For the FCA, for the PRA, for us as UK consumers of financial services, it's a systemic risk. And if the bank uses all of that, puts all of their major applications in one cloud, there's a concentration risk. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of factors to think about. It does have to be considered. It is not just, hey, let's go use the best technology because it's there. Why are you using it? And then whilst we're transforming, if you will, it's how can we also transform the customer journey and the employee journey, because it's, if you want to digitize something, you just make a PDF out of it. If you want to have a digital journey, you create different touch points with the customer. And that's really where we are starting to see some of these changes happen, not only as consumers, but us working with all of our customers as the banks on this.
All right, and on the topic of challenges then, isn't that where DORA is going to come in? Is that going to solve a lot of those problems?
I think DORA and the UK Operational Resiliency Act and rules are starting to recognize that technology now is ubiquitous in everything that we do. I remember when I'm not even that old, but I remember when I first started my career, not everybody had a laptop, not everybody had a computer. Now it's everywhere. Now you look at your desk, I've got, a fancy notebook, I've got my phone, 2 phones and a laptop, and I've only been in the game for 22 years. So tech is everywhere, and it's becoming a utility. And that's, I think, what DORA is, and all these other rules are recognizing, is that if it's a utility, it needs lots of eyes on it. Mm-hmm. It needs to be more standardized, it needs to be controlled, because if the public cloud, say there's a public cloud provider A here in the City of London, if Sainsbury's is on it, Tesco is on it, the 3 biggest banks in the UK are on it, and they go down, what happens?
Yeah.
And that's what DORA is trying to address. And it's also, forcing firms to look at their software supply chain and their customer third-party supply chain, who's helping manage all their systems, essentially who's who in the zoo and who's doing what in the zoo.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that lots of eyeballs are on this now, rather than IT just kind of like being the nerds in the basement or the boffins, at GCHQ. No, everybody now has to be a boffin. Everybody can be a nerd now, and I think it's great that we're all thinking about this now and how we can kind of move forward together better. God, that sounds really cheesy, but I think it's actually what DORA is trying to do.
Yeah, and I think, as I said on the panel session, we need to do our homework, right?
Yes.
Everybody does. But Monica, look, we could talk about this for a lot longer, but I'm going to let you get back to the event, and thank you so much for sharing insights, as always. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure is always mine. Thank you, Hannah.